My school tried to drop me for missing class to testify until my profs and a lawyer stepped in. I was assaulted while I was home on break, and the trial starts in 2 weeks. The court is in my hometown, about 5 hours from campus. I have to go back to testify. I told my advisor and all my professors the days I'd be out. They gave me take-home work and said we'd make it through. One day I'd be gone lines up with midterms. For that, my professor needed approval from the academic dean and the dean of the college to let me take a midterm at home. He asked. They said no. Once it hit their radar, both deans emailed my professors and called me in. They said missing that many classes would trigger attendance penalties. My classes meet on different schedules. For some, I'd miss 2 classes, maybe 3 if court ran long. One class meets every day, so I'd miss 4. My professors were fine marking them as reported absences with documentation. I had documentation. I had a subpoena. I showed it. I explained I was called by the defense, so I didn't choose the dates. The dean looked at the paper and told me, personal, non-medical conflicts don't count as reported absences. He said they'd be unreported absences, the same as sleeping through class. He said policy drops you at the 3rd unreported absence and puts you on probation if you're dropped from 2 or more classes. He suggested a leave of absence to focus on personal matters. This attack already took enough from me. I had worked hard not to miss a day while I healed. I didn't want this man to push back my graduation. I went to the Title IX office. They said they could help. Their help was to map out a leave of absence. I said I can keep up, and my professors agree. They said, we understand, but policy is policy. That night I could not sleep. I stared at the ceiling and kept hearing the word dropped. In the morning I asked for help online. People told me to contact the university ombudsman and a survivor group like RAIN. I called the ombudsman. I called a local group. They listened and connected me with an attorney. She said, we'll talk to your school's lawyers. Within a day of meeting the university's general counsel, things moved. My attorney and I were invited to meet with the same deans who had denied the midterm. I said yes. That afternoon, one of my professors saw my post, put 2 and 2 together, and realized it was me. He emailed me. He said he and my other professors were writing a joint letter. They sent it hours later. They protested the decision. They said I was prepared, passing, and responsible. They copied the board, the ombudsman, the legal office, and senior administrators. When I read it, my hands shook. I cried in a quiet stairwell, then wiped my face and printed extra copies for the meeting. I put the subpoena on top. The next morning, my attorney and I walked into a small conference room. 2 deans were there with folders. General counsel joined by phone. I set the subpoena and the professor's letter on the table. My attorney opened a notebook. She said the word subpoena slowly. She said the policy cannot be used to push a student to ignore a court order. The deans flipped through pages. I told them exactly what I needed. I said I could take the midterm at school, just early, before I drove home. I could start at 7 a.m. if they wanted. For 2 classes, I could complete modified assignments that showed the same skills. My professors had already drafted them. All I asked was accurate attendance. Silence hung for a few seconds. General counsel asked if the plan met the learning goals. I said yes. My professors designed it that way. My attorney said I have the subpoena, the dates, and the plan. She said the only question is whether the university will allow a student to comply with the law and still finish her work. The deans looked at each other. One nodded. He said, work it out with your professors. Take the midterms early here on campus. Use the modified assignments. We won't count these as unreported absences. The other dean said, we'll document the arrangement today. I felt my chest loosen. My attorney asked for it in writing. Right after the meeting, I sent emails. Times came back fast. One midterm at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, the other at 8 a.m. on Wednesday. The daily class moved a quiz to Monday. The 2 project classes sent rubrics. I packed my notes in a folder with sticky tabs and set 2 alarms. I drove home, slept on my sister's couch, and stood outside the courthouse with my folder under my arm. The air was cold. I went inside. When they called my name, I walked forward. I answered the questions. When it was done, I stepped back out and called my professor to confirm the early exam time. Then I headed straight to campus. I went to the testing room and sat down. I wrote my name and started. The plan was in place. I could finish my work and testify, both, like I said from the start. Now, friends are saying I should have just taken leave instead. Was I wrong?